All right, everybody, what's going on? Kyle Pullins here with Trx Sports Performance, and in this video today, I'm going to be breaking down what I do on my program design, how I write my programs for my athletes, so that you can implement this at home with your workouts and with your training program as well. Now, I got to give props. The R7 program design, getting this from a mentor of mine, Coach Mike Robertson, out in Indianapolis. Runs iFast out there, and I've been following him along with Eric Cressy and a few other coaches for a while since I got started doing what I'm doing now. So definitely giving some credit to him for this, well, all the credit really. And just wanted to share this with my athletes and those who are thinking about training with me, and so you can implement this with your own training routines at home. All right, so it's called the R7 method. And we're going to break down each 7 steps, and he did a great job of coming up with the names that go along with this. So, first I got to start off with a little disclaimer here, right? I'm not a medical professional. I am a fitness professional. I am an athletic professional, if you will. And this isn't meant to, if you've got your own injuries, if you've got your own stuff going on, any sicknesses, illnesses, diseases, things like that, this is not professional advice on how to fix that. This is all about getting your body right, getting your body stronger and healthier. So go see somebody for that if you need to get that taken care of. Otherwise, it's 2020, and unfortunately, in what I do, I feel like I got to put a disclaimer out there. Otherwise, there's a lot of people that are so happy these days, and we're not getting into all that. So R1, start with the release. All right, the release is really just releasing the tight tissues, the tight muscles. Really, it's just foam rolling and doing any kind of self-massage work. All right, so I'll kind of fill in some of these blanks as we go here. But, when it comes to the release side of things, it's really going to be about what areas you need to focus on. All right, and see, a little I guess another disclaimer for this, right, is that I'm building this custom program out after I take somebody through an assessment and an evaluation and see where they're at currently, where their strengths, weaknesses, mobility issues, stability issues, these kinds of things that need to be addressed. And then I fill in the gaps in here. So there's a lot that isn't going to be able to be covered in this video because of the fact that I'm just going over in general the idea versus very specific for one athlete that I'm working with, right? So it's not going to be completely customizable for every athlete because, it'll be a separate video of the assessment side of things and how I evaluate the athletes. So you can start to work through some of that yourself at home, which is, everybody can start to do. And when we're talking about analyzing movement, understanding movement, and where these restrictions and things like that come into play. So release. A lot of times, we're going to see tightness in the front of the hips from sitting a lot, being at the desk a lot, tight in the pecs and the traps and the shoulders. Okay, so a lot of release in these areas, in the front here, up into your traps, around the shoulder blades, underneath in the armpits in here. Okay, this area needs a lot of attention as well. A lot of times in the lats. Okay, so for like the upper body, and then here into the neck. All right, those areas are going to be a lot commonly tighter and take some time to spend on whether you want to call it foam rolling. SMR is kind of the fitness term for itself, myofascial release. That's kind of one of the popular terms. And whatever it is, it's really about the method, not the method, but the tool that you're implementing. And we'll just talk about that real quick. So whether it's an actual foam roller, a massage stick, I'll use even down to like a golf ball, a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, baseball or softball sometimes. It's about how much surface area does that cover, as well as how dense or how firm is that surface that you're using. I'll even use PVC pipe, or I've even used a barbell to roll out like the hamstrings and my glutes. Because I just needed something firmer. Part of it is your pain tolerance. How much pain can you tolerate? And this isn't about being in the most pain for as long as possible. We want to find your hot spots, as we call them, the areas that kind of, oh yeah, I feel that one there. work on those areas. We'll spend some time on those, but otherwise, you know, we're doing more discovery throughout the body and just kind of feeling it out. All right. So that's what we usually start with is R1 on the release. So we'll go quads. HF for hip flexors. All right, that's another big one. We'll say calves and feet. That's definitely another area that gets overlooked a lot, but the balls of the feet, the arch of the foot, getting that in with a smaller implement for these smaller areas, all right, is going to be important, because you're not going to be able to get into some of these spots if you're using just a big foam roller for everywhere. So before I go on that, just on that note, using the foam, you know, look globally. We'll look at the major muscle groups first. Okay, so quads, IT band, hamstrings, glutes, and your adductors. That's just for the thighs, right? That's just for the legs right there, upper part of the legs, and the calves and glutes. Those, at least for the lower body, are going to be the ones that you will go after with the foam roller, with the bigger size surface area, right, that we were talking about before. That one is where you'll cover for those. Now, even in calves and in the glutes and sometimes in the hamstrings and adductors, deeper up in here into the groin area, you're probably going to want to use something smaller. I really like to use, I don't have it in here with me, it's called an Accumobility Ball. You can find it on Rogue Fitness under their, I don't remember which category it is, but basically their self-massage or their mobility side of things. Accumobility, ACCU mobility. It's flat on the bottom, and then it's got this little dome on the top. It almost looks like one of those shuttlecocks that they use in, is it badminton? I think that's right. So it's kind of shaped like that. So that one's a really good one to get into these different areas, and even for the upper body too, especially in the upper body. And up here into underneath the armpit, into the lats, up into the neck and traps around in here, and some especially around in the shoulder blades. Those are going to be some areas that you're going to want to do in the low back, especially some harder areas to get around there, and even into this gut box here. That's another area that's commonly missed, and especially when you're trying to hit the hip flexors, which do attach up deeper, like your psoas major specifically is deeper into your hips and underneath a lot of this tissue that's covered by your belly, by your abs, and by your hip bone. So it's deeper, attaches up by your lumbar and the back of the ribs as well, the lower part of your ribs. So it can be harder to get to with some of these other, you know, tools. That's why we need some of these specific tools to get in deeper and targeting. You gotta know your anatomy a little bit to get to some of these muscles, but at the same time, that's what we're here to teach you as well. So quads, hip flexors, we'll go adductor, we'll say groin, and hammies. Okay, that's the main ones, and then on this flip side, we'll say IT. So IT band there, and hamstrings. That's the main ones for the lower body right there. Okay, and then this piece right here initially, more so for the bigger spots in the lower body. Okay, this one, the ones I'm starting right there, you want to go with the smaller implement. It could be a tennis ball, it could be a baseball. Even sometimes, you know, if you've got a medicine ball, some medicine balls can be smaller and they can fit in there pretty good as well. So that could be another tool that you use as well, even like using a basketball. So again, it's not necessarily the foam roller that's going to do it. You know, it's the shape of the tool that you're using, how much surface area does it cover, and how firm is it. Okay. We're going to go pecs. Now we're going to go to the upper body here. Lats. I'll just put that together. We got pecs, lats, traps, scaps. Those are kind of the main ones for the upper back. Well, not only for the upper back, for the upper body, excuse me, but right in between. So rhomboids, which are going to be right in here between the shoulder blades as well. And then this kind of lower piece around there into the middle of your back as well. Okay, so we can say mid-back. But again, we're just kind of focused on the tighter areas, the more painful areas, and you're going to want to spend probably, it's really going to depend, probably at least 30 seconds per spot. All right, so that is at least a starting point to work with. Now, not every area may not need as much time, but first off, you're going to do a discovery pass on it. Okay, you're just going to work back and forth around that muscle. All right, let's say I'm working with I got a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. I'm going to the pecs with it. Okay, and I'm going to work back and forth, up and down, just kind of around this surface area of the pec right here, and find out, okay, maybe right here is a spot, so I'm just going to stay on that spot. Okay, and the other big thing is the breath. You got to breathe through it, okay? You got to breathe through it, all right? So hopefully y'all can read my chicken scratch for one. I don't write as great with the dry erase as I do when I like to get cursive and writing out that way, but I haven't even really written cursive in a while either. So anyways, back to this. Breathing is huge, okay, because we're trying to get these muscles to release. Again, release R1, all right? And a lot of that is going to be due with the breath. If we're tight and we're not breathing, we're not really going to get the true release that we're trying to go for, okay? So that's R1. And now, last little tip is it can take up to a couple minutes. So you really want to stay on that spot until you feel it start to release, you start to relax, or the pain starts to diminish, okay? So do the discovery pass, look around, feel it out, see what's working, see what's hot spot, see where your hot spots are, stay on that hot spot till it becomes mild, a little cooler, all right? So R2, reset, all right? On the reset piece, this one I really like to implement some breathing drills, okay? So we're gonna do, I'm gonna give you 3 breathing drills that I give most of my athletes, all right? The first one is crocodile breathing. Crocodile. Then we're gonna go with Trx Deep Squat. And the last one, all fours belly breathing. All right. So reason behind the reset is most of the time when athletes coming in to work out with me or they're getting ready for their training session, whether they're working out with me or not, right? A lot of what I do nowadays is all online. So I'm able to write the programs for my athletes, and sometimes we'll do live video workouts where they just, turn their camera on like I'm there with them and they're going through their workouts and I'm correcting them as if I were in person. But for the most part, they'll do their workouts, they'll track it, and then they'll send me updates as they go. But with the reset piece, okay, most of the time, whether they're coming to me or they're going into their own workouts, they are bringing a lot of baggage with them from the day, stress from the day, whether it's from a game, it's from practice, it's from school, it's just from their social life, from their family life, whatever it is. And we're not using our deeper breathing muscles, our deeper core muscles to engage and be active. And that throws our posture off, that throws our alignment off, and before we get to the rest of the workout, the meat of the workout, it's going to throw that off because our posture and everything else is off. So we're trying to reset the body and get back to the basics, and the basics are breathing, okay? We breathe thousands of times a day. We breathe so much in a day, and how many of those 1,000 breaths that we have in a day are conscious, or that we're actively breathing and focusing on that? And it's not very many, right? So this is something that can really help out a lot of athletes, calm them down, or to reset the body, and right before we get into the readiness, the next phase, which is more of the dynamic warm-up side of things. So what I like to do here on the reset, okay, 5 to 6 breaths, maybe even up to 10, all right? And here is the big thing is the tempo. Okay, first is inhale through the nose, 5 seconds. Hold for 2. Out the mouth, excuse me, but out pushing out from the belly, out the mouth for 5. And hold again for 2. That's 1 full breath. You're going to repeat that 5 to 6, maybe 10 times. Okay, so crocodile breathing, we'll just break that one down, right? Imagine that you're seeing me standing up right now. Okay, I'm going to set this down. You're seeing me standing up right now. Imagine if I was flat on my belly, okay, flat on the ground on my belly right now. All right, crocodiles, they breathe into their flanks. Like fish, they got these gills on their sides. They breathe into their flanks, into their sides, okay? And we're going to have basically this 4-way breathing where we go, most of us will feel the belly expand into the ground when you're laying like this, but we also want front and back. Okay, so this back side is expanding, and we want side to side. So I'd be laying flat on my stomach just like this. And you get feedback from the ground. Okay, your belly expanding into that. You'll feel your ribs expanding out side to side, and the back of your ribs, okay, your back expanding as well. So kind of this 4-way crocodile breathing. All right, that's the first one. Trx Deep Squat, where you can even hold, I've got right here, I'm in my room right now, so I've got my bed right here, and I can't fully demonstrate it, constraints of the room, set up on the camera and everything, but holding yourself down into a deep squat, and you basically got your arms up overhead, you're holding onto the TRX. I got feet together and knees together, and you're basically trying to take your butt and drop it down to your heels. So you're just in this ass to grass deep squat, all right? And you're just gonna hold that, and you're gonna focus on your breath right there, okay? And that's a really good one. Same idea as before when you're feeling the belly expand against the ground. You're feeling your belly expand into your thighs and into your quads while you're taking those deep breaths, okay? Same as before, the rib cage expanding side to side and front to back as well, all right? So that's the deep squat breathing, and then all fours belly breathing. You just get in that bear crawl position, all fours, knees are down, and you're gonna go through a breathing pattern where you really start to feel your hands pushing into the ground and driving your chest away from the ground, okay? Now, those are for separate videos. I've got some videos out on those. You can go check those out, but I just wanted to kind of break that down for you real quick, all right? And then readiness. This is really our dynamic warm-up where we're getting our body ready for the task at hand, okay? So when it comes to the readiness piece, you know, it's kind of a dual combo between your dynamic warm-up and then any corrective exercises or your prehab type work that we would get. I don't have it here, but from the assessment, right? Like I said, this is all when I do my custom program design off of the initial assessment and evaluation that I take my players through. So I'm going to add in what I feel like they need to work on that I saw from their assessment. So we'll add in a few pieces of that one, all right? And when it comes to the readiness, you know, I'd say about anywhere from 5 to 8 exercises in this, all right? When it comes to your dynamic warm-up, all right? And also consider a bit of movement prep. So movement prep, all that really means is whatever movements you're gonna do for the day during your meat and potatoes of the workout, which is R4 and through R6, that's what we want to be focusing on to get the body primed, to get the body ready for those movements. So if it's, you know, more of a squat day, if it's more of a hinge day, lunge, upper body, wherever your kind of focus is for your workout, that is some of the prep that we want to get the body ready for, all right? So again, that plus your prehab corrective exercises. So, you know, these two can kind of be mixed in, but a lot of what we would do here is going to be kind of covering, or at least progressing and transitioning into some of the movement prep stuff. So some of the dynamic warm-up can be a part of your movement prep, all right? So big areas to focus on for the movement prep when it comes to mobility, there's going to be 3 main areas. First is going to be the ankles. All right, then we're going to go with hips. And your T-spine, all right? So the body has areas that need to be more mobile and areas that need to be more stable. And it kind of goes in every other fashion. Starting with the feet are usually going to be more stable, all right? Ankles, more mobile. Knees, stable. Hips, mobile. Low back, stable. Thoracic spine, mobile. Then there's a spot between your thoracic spine, okay, kind of your middle of your spine, and your cervical spine, right in through here, that's a stable point, and then your cervical spine is mobile as well. Then we've got the shoulder joint, which is more mobile, and then we've got elbow, stable, wrist, mobile. Hand has, a bit of both, but usually more stable through the hand itself. So there's kind of every other pattern of mobility and stability, but the big ones are going to be ankle, hips, and your thoracic spine, which are going to dictate how much range of motion we have through the shoulders and some of these other areas. So that's what I really like to address with those, all right? And then stability, or the core activation. More stability and strength kind of go together, but we'll say we definitely want to get the heart rate up as one, all right? Heart rate elevation, get that heart rate up as a part of getting ready for what we're doing. And then we want to get core activation. So if you're going to hit those kind of 3 areas of mobility, getting the heart rate elevated, and getting the core activated, then you're really going to be set up for a good workout. So that's where we like to start everybody with those. Now, when it comes to what specific exercises should you do, how long should you do them, how many, etc., that's a little more out of the scope for this video. But again, just to give you a framework of this, and I've got other resources, and you can always reach out to me if you want some extra advice on this. But that's a great starting point with that. All right. Then the reactive piece. This is really about getting our nervous system fired up, getting our more explosive movements, our more powerful muscles fired and primed up, ready to do some more reactive and explosive type work. So with this, after we've gotten our body ready, this has got to be before the resistance, which is more of the strength training side of things, okay? So the reactive piece, this is going to be like your med ball work, okay? So your med ball throws. This is going to be, I like to call them your athletic movements. So your skips, your hops, your jumps, bounds, sprints, okay? Different things like that, all right? Anything that's going to be more explosive, that's going to be more powerful. I'm not necessarily a big proponent of it, but this is also your Olympic lifting. Okay. Think plyometrics, all right? Okay, so you're thinking your plyometrics and your speed training, okay? So that is very important that we have this here before we get into this, because we want to have our most neurologically demanding exercises first when it comes to the meat of your workout. Now, what does that mean? The nervous system is going to be very active in what we're doing for these exercises, right? Your nervous system is coming from the brain, is telling your body to fire these muscles that you're going to be using. And we need to get those connections, we need to get those muscles firing quickly and more explosively. And being an athlete, that's, you know, we rely on the speed and we rely on the power and the strength. And we got to get those muscles firing. It's like having the lights in your house. And if you turn the light switch on and it doesn't come on for like 2 or 3 seconds later, you know there's something wrong with the circuitry in there. You probably want to get it fixed, because I can do this right now. That happened pretty instantly, right? That's a sign of a good working foundation, a good working house, a good working electric system in the house. We want to have a good working electric system in your body, and we want to get those primed and fired up. All right, it's kind of like a lawnmower. You've got to prime it a few times before you really start to rev it up. If you just start revving up and going, you're not gonna, it's not gonna work as well. And your body's not necessarily like a lawnmower, but that's just a good example of getting your body primed up and ready for the movements that are coming at hand. So we really want to get this stuff done first. Plus, when it comes to, one other thing on your nervous system is getting this stuff done earlier, because it's very fatiguing on your nervous system and on your body, and it takes longer to recover in between some of these bigger, more explosive exercises because of the amount of output, the amount of energy that is required to do them. So that's why we want to do those first. And you may not necessarily be doing, power training, this explosive jumping movements, med ball throws, Olympic lifting in your program at whatever phase that you're at in your workout routine right now. So that could also be, transitioning into the resistance phase, where you're doing more heavier squats, heavier deadlifts, heavier movements, things that are going to require more strength, more power, more energy for you to do. So the things that are going to be the most neurologically demanding, the most physically demanding exercise movements, etc., that you do, want to do those first. All right, as the nervous system will fatigue a lot quicker than the muscles will. All right, and then the resistance. This is more of the strength training side of things. Okay, I guess kind of going back to this one real quick. Reps for this, we want to keep these shorter, and we want to be quicker with them. All right, and have a little more rest time in between. So I'd say anywhere from 3 to 6, max of 8. All right, if we start getting more than that, we're really not being as explosive or as powerful as we can be, and we start to slow down, and we're not training the same way that our initial goal was, which was to be more explosive and more powerful. And if we start training outside of that, we're not doing that, which is kind of goes into, I'm not going to get too far ahead here, but into the conditioning piece. So many times athletes, and this was something I did when I was playing, when it comes to the conditioning side, they say they want to do speed work or what have you, and they start doing just continuous reps, and it's just go, 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 and they're not resting in between. So you've got to understand energy systems a little bit, all right? That's a separate video that we've done, and there's 3 main energy systems, and when you're getting out of, when we're doing this, we're more in the anaerobic system, which we're doing without oxygen. So it's quicker, it's more explosive, right? That's why you can't do a sprint for, more than 10, 15 seconds at a time. After you do that, you start slowing down a little bit. So we want to stay as explosive and as fast as we can. That's why those reps right here, the reps of 3 to 6, max I'd say of 8, are where you want to stay to really be explosive and powerful, all right, and fast. When it comes to sets on that, again, I'm just kind of giving you some ranges to work with. It's hard to say, okay, you need to do exactly 5 sets of 5 reps or 3 sets of 6 reps, whatever it is. But I'd say between 2 to 4 sets of that many reps, all right? And you're probably going to look at maybe 3 to 5 on the high end, probably 2 to 4 exercises for this. 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 exercises here. Okay. It doesn't want to be a lot. Not too many are going to be up in this range. Most of you are probably going to be 2 to 4 exercises in there. But that's kind of where we want to be at on the reactive piece. All right. So transitioning to the resistance, the strength training side of things. Okay. So this one, again, it's going to be dependent on how much overall volume are you doing in your workouts right now, and with your workload. What does volume mean? Basically, if we had, if we're able to combine all of the work that you do. When I'm talking about work, I mean how much practice time are you doing? How much training time are you doing in the gym? How much games? Is this a competitive season for you right now? Is this the off season? How much on your own practice time are you doing? What other, are you playing other sports? All these kinds of things add up to the total volume that you're able to do. And think about volume like a glass, all right? And your body is like this glass, all right? And your work capacity in a sense. So how much workload can you handle? How much volume of work can you handle? And it'd be good to have a glass comparison right here. But if you had, don't judge my glass right here. All right, let's say this is your current workload right here. This is how much volume that you can take in with all of the things dumping in here that you are able to do and able to fit in there. All right, this is going to be practice. This is going to be games. This is going to be workouts, etc., etc. Okay. At some point, this is going to start to overflow. And that's when we start to dip into the overtraining side of things and we start going down the possible injury road, which we don't want to do. Most of the time when it comes to overtraining, it's either under recovering, we're not recovering properly, or it's this base that we have here. We have a small base to work with. And again, it's just kind of the chicken or the egg side of things. So with this, we're really trying to build up a bigger glass, okay? So we can be able to handle more work. All right, I can easily fill up more in there than I can in that one. And that's really the goal when it comes to the strength conditioning, is being able to increase your workload, increase your work capacity, how much volume it is that we can start to fill up. And again, this is just kind of a general idea. This isn't going too deep into some of this stuff. We can talk about more of this stuff later. But for this video, just to kind of give you an idea of that, understanding how much it is that you can handle at once. Because if we try to throw the whole book at you, throw the whole gauntlet at you, but you've got this smaller glass right here, I'm literally doing you a disservice, and there's a possible, well, not me, because I wouldn't personally do that, right? That's why we go through the assessment and the evaluation side of things, and we're continuously tracking your workouts. We're tracking your practice routine, your game schedule, all this kind of stuff, so we can see how well you're recovering, how well you're able to handle this workload, etc. So that's just to give you an idea. All right, so that's another great reason why it's really important to work with a professional trainer, a professional coach, strength conditioning coach, etc. on some of this stuff, because, you know, even if I do give you this great program design philosophy and structure for your workouts, but you're going out and you're practicing 3-4 days a week, then you've got maybe 3 games in a week, and you're going out and playing basketball with your buddies, and you're riding your bike around town, and then you go and you do a heavy workout, you know, you can start to see where that's going to take away from what it is that you're trying to do with your program and whatever phase that you're in. And maybe you're not eating enough, maybe you're not sleeping enough, maybe you're not doing enough on the release or the reset stuff for your recovery side of things. You know, there's a lot of pieces that go into that, and if we're not taking care of our bodies and understanding some of these principles, then, you know, you can start to set yourself up for failure, even though you have the best intentions of working hard and doing the things that you think you need to be doing, which you are, but at the same time, you're not doing them properly, you're not doing them effectively or efficiently. All right, so that's one of the reasons why I like to educate athletes on this kind of stuff, is because you're the ones who are going to be in control of your future. All right, and now as coaches, it's our job to give you the best information possible, really educate you on this kind of stuff. And if you're not willing to learn and educate yourself on your body, which is your business, your body is your business, all right? When you're an athlete, if you don't take care of your body, nobody else can take care of it for you. Your parents can't make you go to bed on time. They can't make you eat the 3,500 calories with the right macro split and drinking enough and getting all your vitamins in and that side of things. Like, they're not going to make you do that. They're going to encourage you to do that. They're going to say, oh, did you eat your broccoli today? Or you should go to bed by 11 p.m. because you got to get up early the next day, or 10 p.m. or whatever it is. But you're the one who has to be responsible for what you do in and out on a daily, all right? And I'm here to help you with that. I want to empower you to be that kind of athlete who takes responsibility for what they do. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to do the work in the gym. You're the one that has to do the work on the field or on the court. And you're going to be the one that has to take care of your mind when it comes game time, when it comes practice time, any time you got to take care of your mind, not just in those settings, okay? And that's really what I'm big about. And if you don't understand some of this stuff, if you don't know some of this stuff, you're not going to do it, because you're just like, all right, I'm going to do whatever coach says. And coach says to do this, so I'm going to do this. And I trust him fully because he's my coach, which is something I struggled with, all right? Not to say, I didn't know I was struggling with. That's something that just happened. That's just something I did. But now looking back on it, I realize that none of my coaches knew this kind of stuff. And I would have had to really find somebody to educate me, and I'd have to hire somebody else that would know this kind of stuff to go through it with them, or so they could go through it with me, right? And I'm not expecting you to become anatomy and physiology expert, to be a kinesiology expert, to know your body inside and out like a scientist would, or like a trainer or a coach would. But it is still your responsibility to learn how your mind works, how your body works, how you can take care of it, what kinds of things you need to put in your body, what kinds of things you need to put into your mind to make sure your mind stays healthy, okay? And how do you recover? All these different kinds of things that relate to your body and your mind that are going to affect your performance on the field. It is not your coach's responsibility to make you do that kind of stuff. It is your responsibility as a player. And if you're listening this far, you're going to be you're probably already an athlete who is taking things much more seriously than the rest of them are. So one, kudos to you for that. And two, you're already up on the upward trend. You're on the upward curve of being able to play at the next level, being more successful than you already are, because you're trying to learn this stuff now. So first off, I just want to say thank you for that, that you're listening this far. And two, thank yourself for taking the time to learn some of this kind of stuff. All right, so let's get back to the last 2 or 3 here, and then we'll wrap this video up. Resistance training, the strength conditioning side of things, okay? So this one is going to vary depending, again, back to the assessment side of things. Are you needing more strength in the lower body, or you need more strength in the upper body? What did we have imbalances left to right side of the body? Is the left side stronger than the right side, or vice versa? There's a lot of different factors and things to consider, but let's say between, and I'm going to give you a higher range, 6 to 12 exercises. All right, and I would say minimum 3 sets, or between 3 to 6 sets. And rep range is going to be, again, it's dependent. So we'll talk about reps here in a second, but probably between the 6 to 10 range if we're talking more of strength and hypertrophy stuff. So rep range is going to be very determined. It's going to be telling you how many sets you're really going to be doing with your workouts. All right. So rep ranges. Let's talk about rep ranges real quick. So this 1 to 5 rep range, this one is going to be more of your maximum strength and your maximum power type of work, because you're not going to be able to do something really heavy or really fast for a lot, right? You're not going to be able to do, let's say if you have a 1 rep max on your squat at 300 pounds, you're not going to be able to probably do 250 pounds or 275 pounds for 10, 15 or more reps. Even the 300 pounds, right? That's your 1 rep max. You're not going to be able to do that for more than 1, maybe 2 as you start to get stronger. But for the most part, you know, we did this in high school and a little bit in college, the 1 rep max. There's not a lot of reason to be doing 1 rep maxes. I start to look at 3 is still, I like to look up a little bit higher than that. 5, 8 rep maxes are a little more safer, but also going to start to tell you more about your body as far as your movement goes, where your stability's at, and some of these other things, because when you get to the 1 rep max, form goes to shit and you're just maxing out and you're trying to do the most weight you possibly can. And football is about the only sport that really does that, or quote unquote needs to do that. You know, baseball and softball and golf are most of the athletes that I work with, and they don't need that at all. You don't need to get to that 1 rep max point. But there is, again, to understand the reps, that side of things, when you get that heavy, you can't do them for that amount of time and for that long, right? You're just not strong enough. It's too much weight. But on the flip side, if you're doing, you know, a higher rep range of, you know, 12, 15, 20 reps or more, that is more of the endurance side of things. So we'll go to the flip side real quick. Is, I'm going to say right here. Okay, 15 plus is your endurance. All right. So this is max strength. Endurance. So muscular endurance, all right, when we're looking at the 15 reps and up, okay? Again, you know, when we're working at this rep range, we're gonna have more sets. So we might have, for this rep range, probably between 4 to 6, and in some cases, some guys will even go up to maybe like 8. But again, it depends on the amount of reps that you have. Okay, when we're doing this kind of endurance here, you're probably going to be around 2 to 4 sets for those. Okay, so muscular endurance here. And again, you're not going to be able to do as much weight here if you want to be able to get to that 15 reps, right? So now let's go here to, we'll say 4 to 8 reps. And this is starting to get kind of into more functional strength in this range, okay? All right, so functional strength, meaning that you're going to be able to not quit at the 1, right? But when it comes to being able to get to that 4th, 5th, 6th rep, you know, that's still going to be pretty strong, all right? And that's going to be something that's going to be able to apply better to the field and to your regular life versus being able to do something one time, okay? Because if you can only do something once, you don't have the endurance, you don't have the strength to keep that going, right? So again, you're not going to be able to keep something going at 15 reps and be super strong with it, but this is a good rep range to understand around the functional strength side of things, okay? And then, you know, talking 8 to 12, this is the typical rep range that you're going to see in, if you go to any kind of bodybuilder or fitness magazine, that's probably where they're going to be, probably 10 to 12, okay? And this is muscle hypertrophy. Now, hypertrophy meaning that we're increasing the size of the muscle, all right? And again, when it comes to this, you know, there's a difference between strength training and muscle building, okay? Now, you can definitely gain muscle, you can definitely gain size from doing strength training, like real strength training. This isn't going to develop true strength, okay? You'll get some benefit out of it, but if you're just always staying in that 8 to 12 rep range, you know, there's a big difference between the amount of weight that you can lift at 8 to 12 and actually do the rep quality and not just start to muscle it up and start leaning and arcing, getting all this momentum and getting shitty posture, versus being able to do something in that rep range or that rep range, okay? Because these are going to be a lot heavier, and you're going to be able to need to control the core, control your movement, control your posture to be able to get those done right, okay? So if you're always in that 8 to 12 rep range and you think you're strength training, you're lying to yourself. Straight up, you're lying to yourself, and you may not even know it, okay? That's why, again, you got to educate yourself on some of this stuff, because just because you see it in a fitness magazine or a bodybuilder.com or some of these other workouts, and a guy looks muscular and he looks like he's strong, doesn't mean that he's actually strong, okay? There's a difference, and we got to understand that. So that's the common rep ranges that you're going to work with and the sets that you're going to be doing, all right, and the exercises there. I really like, you know, for most guys, and it depends, but doing A, B, and a C series of superset. So a superset is, you know, A1 and A2, and I've got an upper and a lower, all right? Because here, these two exercises are not going to be competing with each other. It's not like I'm trying to do dumbbell bench press here, and then I'm trying to do tricep extensions on this one. Or even if I'm not going to the isolation exercises like that, I'm still doing the, let's say it was a row, right? Because there's going to be a lot of grip work involved on the dumbbell bench press, or even if you did regular bench press. I definitely like the dumbbell bench press for a lot of my athletes. But when you got to grip and do rows, again, your forearms are going to be fatigued from that, so you're not going to get the quality of work that you would have gotten if you would have done a push here, and then in your B series, B1, B2, if you did, you know, if this was a push and you had a pull here, this is still upper and lower here. Okay? So, gives you a break in between, but it also, you know, you're not going to work competing muscle groups necessarily in that. So that both the upper and the lower body are going to get good work without taking away from each other, which is big. Okay? You know, A1 and A2, B1 and B2, and then, you know, with the C series, sometimes I'll do 3, maybe 4 exercises in there. It could just be 2, and you could have a D series where you go A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and then D1 and D2, and you just kind of mix it out that way. And then if you've got A, this is 1 and 2, 3 and 4. You've got a C series, that's 5 and 6, all right? Sometimes it may be right here, I'll add in like a mobility exercise as a A3, like a little active recovery in between sets, okay? So let's talk, this is important, all right? I definitely want to cover it in this. And I didn't quite cover it this, but we talked a little bit about it, was the rest periods, okay? Your rest periods here, when you're doing more of your active stuff, needs to be a little bit longer, especially when it's like your sprint work, and, well, I get any of it really, but that's when we start to get out of that anaerobic system and get more into the aerobic system, where we start to use oxygen, where we start to go slower and process things that way. So for this up here, in the, you know, at least 1.5 minutes to like 2 minutes in between your sets on that, okay? When you're doing these here, the max strength or the functional strength, between 2 to 3 minutes in between your sets. right? That's one of the reasons why like power lifters, their workouts are so long, is because they need that time to recover. And your muscles are going to recover faster, like I mentioned earlier, than your nervous system will. So that's why we really allow up to that 2 to 3 minute mark for these higher neurologically demanding exercises than we would doing, your isolation exercises for biceps, for your glutes, for your hamstrings, whichever muscle group that you're isolating, versus your entire body, your entire chain of muscles working together, right? That's going to require more energy, and you're going to need more time to recover that. So when you're up into here, 2 to 3 minutes in between some of these, to make sure that you're staying quick and explosive and not getting slower and lethargic. All right. Then for here in this rep range, same kind of thing. Probably about 3 minutes in between the max strength. When you're doing the functional strength, probably about 2 minutes. And then in here, you're looking at, around 30 seconds to a minute maybe. And then in this, a minute to a minute and a half rest. All right. The rest is important, because if you take too long in between, then you're going to start to lose some of the training effect that you're getting. But if you don't take enough rest time in between, you're not going to be as effective. You're going to start, your muscles won't be recovered that you need to work, and you're going to start using your secondary muscles to do your primary muscles job, which is not a good thing. All right, we want the primary doing the primary, and the secondary supporting and stabilizing. All right, so that's big to understand there. Okay, we covered the sets, we covered the reps, and we covered the different exercises. So that's pretty much going to cover it on the resistance side of things. Okay. So resiliency, what is a resiliency? That's kind of more of your cardio and your core work and your accessory exercises. Cardio, core, so cardio, core, and your accessory type exercises. So with these, especially kind of these two, this again kind of goes back to before, when I was talking about the assessment and evaluation that I take my guys through. When we've got the prehab work up here that we're going through in the readiness, that are addressing some of the mobility issues that guys probably have, or girls, girls have them too, but girls are usually more flexible. So it just depends. Every body, physical body is different, okay? But going back to this is where we start to implement some of those individual exercises to address either weaknesses that we need to get stronger, or maybe it's some kind of functional type of exercise that's going to allow, some range of motion in there, as well as working on posture as well. So deeper core training is a good fit for some of that stuff, where you're really focused on the posture and making sure that you're keeping that good posture and your deep core muscles are engaged, making sure that that's stabilizing your spine. So those kind of exercises would be in here, and then some of your cardio as well at the end is a good idea to work with for that. So, and again, this is your accessory or your isolation. All right, so your isolation exercises, again, going back, we call addressing more of your limiting factors. All right, so limiting factors are really the muscle groups that assist the main movements that are weak and not able to perform the muscle, or to perform the exercise properly. So let's take the deadlift, for example, okay? If you have weak forearms and your forearms aren't strong enough to pull through the whole deadlift properly, your deadlift's going to be weaker than it should be. You're not going to be training your lats as well if your forearms aren't engaged as well, or if they're not as strong as they should be. Okay, so that's just one example of it. Maybe it's your glutes. Your glutes are your limiting factor in your squats, your lunges. They're not, doing the primary movements, or using your low back, or you're using a lot more quads in your glutes, which is very common in athletes. Right here, I use my quads a lot more. Definitely from basketball days, where you're jumping a lot more and you're using the knees versus the butt muscles. So the limiting factor is kind of the main movements, all right? And then I'll drop this real quick. I'm not going to be able to write it in. I don't have enough space in here. But the main movements that we need to be addressing with the strength training piece, we talked about the main athletic movements, but just how your body physically moves. Okay, we got to understand how humans move first, because we all want to go to the athlete side. We all want to go to the mirror muscles and the bodybuilder type stuff. We want to get six-pack washboard abs. We want to get the big arms, big shoulders, all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean, one, that it's functional, okay? That it's going to translate to you throwing harder on the field, to you jumping higher, to be able to get those balls up overhead, or to slam dunk it, or whatever it is that you need for your sport. Just because you've got somebody that looks big, that looks strong, doesn't mean that you're going to take them out on the field and they're going to perform like they could perform, okay? So when it comes to the movements, all right, there's really kind of 6 main movements. First one is the hip hinge. Second one is the squat. Third is a push with the upper body. We've got both horizontally right in front and then vertically up overhead. Okay, so we've got the hinge, we've got the squat, we've got the push, we've got the pull, we've got the carry, which is a big one. Okay, and then the last one could be like your sprints, your running movements. Okay, your gait pattern is what some of them call that. So GAIT when it comes to gait, not like a gate on a fence, right? But those are kind of the 6 main ones, and then we've got like your single arm and your single leg exercises. So the lunge is a really good one, and rotation. Okay, being able to rotate around. So that's where that's where I start with understanding things: the hip hinge, the squat, the lunge, the push, the pull, your carry, and your gait. Whether that's walking, that's running, that's sprinting. It all translates in together. All right, so when you're building out your workout routine, you want to focus around those main movements first, okay? Your compound movements, and then your accessory or your isolation muscles for the resiliency that are targeting your limiting factors, the areas that need to be strengthened that are causing you to not get the gains in the main lifts and the main movements, all right? So common limiting factors: forearms for sure, scaps, shoulder blades is another one, glutes is another one, hamstrings is definitely one, and sometimes it can be the calves as well. Those are and then we definitely got abs, like lower abs, your core, your obliques, okay? The core muscles, when those aren't stabilizing and holding your body up properly, then you're going to start to use these other muscles that we don't want to be using. And when you have a stronger core, you're going to be able to do your main movements here, and you're going to be able to do your reactive movements so much better. They're going to be a lot more efficient. And then, it's so key to be able to have a good core to translate out to your work on the field or on the court. So that's probably enough for this video on that, all right? And then R7, the last one, is the recovery. So for the most part, we'll go through the release again, and we'll go through the reset again, and then we might do some static stretching here. But for the most part, we're trying to get the body to cool back down and to start to recover so that we can take these gains that we worked on here, because we're breaking our body down, we're tearing our body down, and we're trying to build it back up again, okay? So definitely the breathing drills, trying to take your body from a fight or flight state, which is the readiness, is getting your body into that stress state, okay? You are stressing your body, all right, into this fight or flight state, to our rest and digest state, okay, to start to slow the body down where it can cool down and recover. And then obviously after this, is where we start to fuel up again, get the nutrition right, go get some protein, some fats and carbs that are going to refuel your body, all right? So that is the R7 method for writing out the programs that I do for my athletes, and how you can start to implement this with your own workouts. And again, I just kind of keeping things general here, so you can maybe, you've already got a workout routine that you're going through, but maybe you were doing a bunch of isolation exercises up here after your warm-up, and whatever it is, right? But this is just a good framework for you to understand of how to structure your workouts, how to write your own workouts, and how they should, the pieces, what parts of the puzzle do they go, so that they can all mesh together. So hopefully you got some value out of this. If you liked it, leave a comment below wherever this video is at. Post it up pretty much everywhere. So if you're on YouTube, leave a comment below on YouTube. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, actually Instagram, this video I probably got going. I don't even know how long I'm at right now, so not gonna be able to post all of it on there, but I will post some little snippets for you guys on there as well. But wherever you're at on social, on the internet, like it, comment it, follow if you got some value out of this, and share it with somebody that you think needs to know this kind of stuff. So the more athletes that know this stuff, the better they're going to be, the better your team is going to be. So share it with your teammates, right? These guys that think that they're doing these awesome workouts on their own, and maybe some of them already are doing some great stuff, but we could all be a little bit better with what we do. That's why we have coaches, and that's why we have trainers that work with us. So again, thanks for checking in today, and we'll see you guys on the next one.